Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Business Power Hour. My name is Norman Wasserman. Some people call me the Music Man, and this good-looking fellow with the dimples. Show everybody your dimples. There they are.
There you go.
His name is Darren Chiaffi, and I don't know what they call him, so I don't have a clue.
Good evening, Music Man. How are you tonight?
What do they call you?
Right, they call me all
never
kinds
mind.
of
Don't
things.
say it.
We don't. Some things we just don't want to repeat.
Yeah, exactly. I got it.
So, how are you this evening?
Cold. It's cold outside.
It's cold. It's supposed to get really nasty tomorrow.
No, actually, they said it was going to be 60 degrees and rain.
Heavy rain.
Heavy rain and winds.
Heavy winds. That's why I said it's going to be nasty tomorrow. So, but otherwise, it's good. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was pretty good. I had two dinners. I had a Thanksgiving dinner on Wednesday, and then we had another one on Thursday.
Right? Yeah, you said that last week. You were going to do that.
Correct.
Right.
I went to a restaurant on Thursday. My wife wanted to, take some people and go to this very well-known restaurant in the Patchogue area.
Okay.
And
so you had to put out some shekels?
Yeah, it was kind of costly, and to be honest with you, I've heard about the wonderful reputation that it has. I'm not going to mention the name, but honestly, excuse my French, it sucked.
It sucked.
Yeah, it really wasn't good.
This is
that's why I'm not mentioning. You know why? Because it was Thursday. It was Thanksgiving. So the quality of the stuff that they put out there,
the quality of the stuff was bad.
It was a buffet. That's why.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, so they were able to go and do that.
So it was a buffet. You went to
a buffet.
It was a buffet for Thanksgiving.
Well, that was Thursday.
Yeah.
And on Wednesday we had the typical dinner.
Right. Okay. All right.
And what did you do?
Well, now that you want to get around to me, we got very little time.
But she's been on here 9,000 times. She can wait. Look, she's even smiling.
Actually, we went to see friends. All the kids were out doing other things. So we went to one of Michelle's girlfriend's house. We had a very nice time.
She had hamburgers?
No hamburgers. But there was 8 of us, 2, 4, 6, 8 of us, and she made 2 turkeys.
8 people?
We're like, who are you feeding? But we had a lot of leftovers, and
I'm sure you did.
But we had a very nice time.
We're gonna have a nice time tonight too.
We're gonna have a great time.
We're gonna have a nice time tonight.
You know what today is?
I know Well, it's even more than that. Today for us is Give Back Tuesday.
Right.
Which for those of you that don't know and are first time listeners to our show, the last Tuesday of every month, Darren and I have a charity that comes on. They contact us. They ask to be on the show, or we'll contact them and ask them if they're interested. But today is something really, really special, and it's not because of our guests. She's something special anyway.
Right.
Globally, this is Give Back Tuesday.
Yeah.
All around the world.
So
and coincidentally,
the world has ripped us off.
Exactly. That's what I was going to get at. They have some nerve. I mean, really.
They took our idea.
And it's universal.
And it's universsul now. So
we're raising our prices. We are absolutely universal. Eileen, forget about it. You're paying next time. And you're a charity, but you're paying. And Adrian's going to pay too.
We love Eileen.
Anyway, let's introduce Eileen and Adrian. I'll just explain a little bit about Eileen. She is the president of the Pulse Center for Patient Safety and Education Advocacy. Why couldn't you pick an easy number?
Well, no, hold on. Eileen is the original super fan of the Business Power Hour.
Yeah, absolutely. But she was doing this stuff way before us.
No, I know that, but I'm saying
I think we helped her a little bit.
So she's got a special place in our hearts because she's always been there.
No doubt about it.
Else, so.
No doubt about it. Just look at that face. It's a face only a father could love.
And Eileen has a special guest with her tonight.
Well, I've heard so much about
Adrienne, right?
Adrienne, yes.
Okay.
Welcome.
So you get a lot of people going, "Yo, Adrienne."
Only about the group is aging out because people don't know the movie, so it has slowed down quite a bit. But,
okay. Well, let me tell you, when my phone rings, it plays Rocky.
Yeah, it does.
It really
it's
does.
annoying. You probably should hear it 2 or 3 times during the show because that's usually when it goes.
Oh, I have it on mute. I mean, if you like, I'll put it on.
He says he's got it on
entertain
mute,
everybody.
but that's not always the case.
I knew when I started
Let's get
telling my
started with
patients,
this.
just remember Rocky and you remember my name.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
By the way, his new show on TV is great.
Yeah, have you seen that?
Oh, it's it is so
he's
good.
Doing really, you know what? I'm pleasantly surprised on that. Right?
He's really good. Eileen, you want to talk about yourself or what? Should we continue doing what we're doing?
I love listening to you guys. That's why I'm your #1 fan.
I'm going to be number 2.
I tune in Tuesdays at 7:00 every Tuesday in my car, in my living room, wherever I am.
Yeah.
So I'm just used to watching you guys rattle on. Love the show. Yeah, but thanks for having us on again. And every time I'm on, things have changed through the organization. We're a patient safety and advocacy organization, and we've been around for 25 years, Pulse Center for Patient Safety.
How long has it been? 25 years now?
Our 25th year. We started in 1996.
That's older than Adrienne.
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Thank you.
I got to fix this screen here because look at this. We got to go
Well,
back.
I did just turn 55, so.
Yeah,
No,
you turned 55.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Gen X.
Gen X. I just turned 57.
Hey, all right.
I just turned 74.
Look, you're in the game.
I got to find a way to get this on here, Eileen, where it's not cutting through your head.
It doesn't matter. People know what she looks like.
Just a little higher.
All right, so we're putting the phone number up early tonight, 631-619-7500 for anybody who wants to call in, ask any questions of these great people.
Or say hello if you know Eileen. And
Eileen, your phone was on, isn't it? That was your phone, wasn't it?
They called the wrong number.
Wait, she's been on before, right? Come on, rookie mistake.
Oh, look, Keith Ray's watching tonight. Hey, Keith.
Hey, what's the
how
matter?
are you?
Keith,
Happy
are you
holidays,
okay?
man.
What's wrong?
Did I tell you
No.
I saw him, and I'm sorry, ladies, I'm going off on tangents. When we did the cancer walk,
Oh, yeah, he was there?
he was there. He was there, at one of the booths, working in one of the booths, and I walked by the booth.
He's got a good heart. He's
And
good
you know
heart.
what was funny was I was in my uniform, right, for Civil Air Patrol. So I'm in the ABUs, and I have my hat on. I have sunglasses on. And he sees my last name. He goes, I know somebody with that last name. I said, yes, you do. But, yeah, he was there. He was there.
Should have
Anyway,
sent in a picture
I-
of what you look like in your uniform.
Oh, I have a
All the ladies
I have
could,
a
with
well,
the dimples
let's
and
not-
the
we're not gonna go
glasses
there.
and whatever.
Stop with your
Should be hot.
nonsense. Anyway, let's get back to these lovely.
Well, Darren, I'm glad you brought up the cancer walk because that's a really important part of what we do.
Mhm.
The fact that there's things like cancer walks and breast cancer month, and there's all kinds of medical conditions that people celebrate and raise money for and are involved with because it's affected their family or themselves. And yet when it comes to patient safety and the work that we do as advocates, there's nothing that really that relays that information to the public, even though what we do affects every single disease.
All right, time out. There are some people that don't know your history and the original history of Pulse. And we want to educate them within the remaining hour that we have consumed and let them know really how and why and how you started and where the heck you are now, because you are light years from where you were. Go for it.
Well, we started in 1996 as a support group for survivors of medical injury after the death of my son from a tonsillectomy. He bled to death from a tonsillectomy, and nobody asked me what could have been done different to avoid the injury or death from my son. And when I realized that, as I started talking about medical mistakes and things that would go wrong, I found out that many people, including healthcare providers, also experience the death of family members because of the complexities of the healthcare system. And that's what made us, as a group, the people who we started with over 20 years ago, we decided that we were going to use these stories and experiences and work with the people in the healthcare system to figure out how we can improve care, by including the patients and their families in their own medical care and treatment for the best possible outcomes. And that's what we've been doing for 25 years. And people like Nurse Adrian, who has joined us the last couple of years, and that many people have joined us over the years, really bring a very unique and important perspective. And that's why I'm so glad she's here with me today, because it's not about only the people who've been harmed. It's about the people who work in healthcare, that we need to all work together to improve outcomes and make sure everyone goes through the healthcare system with the outcomes that they expect to get.
Adriana, what do you do for a living?
So I'm a private patient advocate. I have my own company, Trusted
How did
Guardian
you
Patient Advocate.
get
And
to that? How did you become a patient advocate owner?
well, I would say really just a fortune of events through including the pandemic and personal burnout, as you gentlemen and Eileen know, most of America knows nurses are burned out. And so I ironically in March 2nd, left bedside literally on the eve of the pandemic and shutdowns. On my background, I've been an RN for 15 years. I worked bedside in a hospital for 12 years in a community-based hospital. And I had just decided I needed to do something different. Now, my history before being a nurse, I didn't become an RN until I was 39. So I was almost 40 when I changed careers. And prior to that, I was a community organizer, political organizer, ran political campaigns, and I was a union organizer. So I was a staff director in the largest union in America, and then became a member of that union and an activist and, of course, chief steward, negotiated contracts. So I went back to work for one of the chapters of the union right as the pandemic hit. I knew it was coming because I had already been kind of looking at international news at that time. And I became a director of education, health, and safety for 10,000 nurses. So in the course of trying to keep nurses alive and healthcare workers alive and keep them educated in the midst of this, global pandemic and some, a lot of confusion, a lot of, I would say, bad behavior on the part of some hospitals and the system and confusing information. The issue of patient care and patient advocacy was weighing so heavily. It was just so much part of the burden on our members, in addition to their own personal safety, their own family members, and their coworkers being struck down by COVID, and just the care people were getting. And it was really creating what we call moral fatigue. So you mentioned your Civil Air Patrol, AVU, right? So military background. That concept of moral fatigue, right? That kind of, if you're just in the trenches continuously, right, and you don't get taken out, well, that similar kind of thing happened with healthcare workers, especially nurses. And that then led me to, I filed over 200 regulatory complaints in the state of California regarding patient care, patient safety issues, employee issues, but all really related to health and safety. And then from there, I decided I was ready to really branch out and become an entrepreneur. I'd always been wanting to do this. I had the certification, but I just wasn't in that place yet.
Okay, so I want to ask you this question, right? You said you filed a ton of complaints as you were working as a nurse, correct?
As I had left bedside and I was working back again with the union. So I was a director. I was one of 7 people running the local.
Right. So you saw, well, being bedside, you kind of saw where the breakdowns are in the system, right?
Absolutely.
Right. And probably the biggest one, and this is, coming from people my age, right? We were told when we were growing up, well, if the doctor says this is the way it is, that's the way it is.
Right. They're good.
So for us, and Eileen learned the hard way, unfortunately, we were like, okay, if the doctor says it's okay, then it's okay. We got to trust that it's okay. And we're not supposed to ask any questions.
Right.
Nor did we know we had any right to ask any questions or get any real information.
And we wouldn't know if it was right or wrong in the first place.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what's great about you guys, and correct me if I'm saying anything out of line, is the fact that you are there to be able to help them ask the right questions and get the right answers. right?
Absolutely. And it was very common at the bedside when, as a nurse, even though, I would coach patients and say, or a family and say, well, you might want to ask about this. You might
Mhm.
want to find out about that. And I was very outspoken. My family's from New York. I'm, part half
Whoa, whoa,
Italian.
whoa, 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 whoa.
So, like
Does
it's
that
built in
mean
right
that
to
you're
be
outspoken
informative.
because you're from New York?
I know I'm in
Is that
California
it?
and New York. I got it all right. So yeah. So I mean, I grew up. My mother was disabled when I was growing up, so I was always a patient advocate. And then becoming a nurse, I became a nurse partly because I wanted to be a patient advocate. So I really had that hardwired for me. And if it meant if it meant my job, that's fine. I could go get another job, but I'm not going to let
I'm
the
going to ask
patient
you to
suffer.
hold up for a couple of seconds, and then you're going to get back in it again. 25 years ago, a patient advocate was almost like non-existent, right? Yes or no? Any
Yeah,
one of you can answer.
true, true.
Yeah.
As you got involved in it, Eileen, more and more, were they? Did the doctors respect an advocate? Did the nurses respect an advocate? Was an advocate allowed to come into a hospital? Are they allowed to go into a hospital now? When you sign in, do you mention that you have a patient advocate? How does it work?
If somebody hires a patient advocate, there's a relationship there that is decided on ahead of time. What we do at Pulse is very different than what another patient advocate might do. Remember, there's billing advocates, there's insurance patient advocates, there's many different types of patient advocates. Somebody who wants to hire somebody or use somebody needs to decide what they want, and their family. And what we do at Pulse is very unique because we encourage the friends and family who are already willing and able to help and sit at the bedside and be a partner. We help them use those skills that they may already have and enhance their skills and knowledge so they could be the patient advocate for their family member. Now, a patient advocate is also a caregiver. There's a lot of different names for this. Somebody who supports the patient. A family member could be their advocate, because an advocate is somebody who helps somebody else in any field. So when you're helping someone who's a patient, you're a support person in many different areas. So if I have a patient is permitted to invite or call whoever they want as their family member. You can't tell somebody that's not your family. They can't come into the hospital. They can't come with you
Well,
to the
that's
doctor.
always a question that they ask. Is this a relative? Is this your wife or your husband or your mother or whatever it may be? So an advocate can get away with using their name and say, "I'm the advocate."
Absolutely. They absolutely, the patient needs to want that person there. What I find is troubling, believe it or not, is when a nurse or doctor doesn't ask the patient privately if they want me there. Because I could be somebody that the patient doesn't want there.
Right.
And they assume when I go in with a patient to the doctor's office, I'm automatically escorted in. I follow in because obviously I'm there with the patient. I have a notebook. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to help ask questions. But what if that patient doesn't want me there and wants the privacy? An adult, an older parent may want to talk about their sex life and doesn't want their adult child there. But it's assumed in the healthcare system that when a family walks into the doctor's office or a hospital room, that they're all welcome there, and that's not always the case. A lot of advocates will argue with me and say, I have every right to be there. I'm the advocate. We're still there for the patient, and it's up to the patient to have the rules, to make the rules, and make the final decisions. And if I'm asked to step out of a room by the patient, I have to be ready to step out. So an advocate
And
is there
let
for
me
the
let me interrupt you now, Adriana.
He's good at that, interrupting.
Okay. When you were a nurse,
Uh-huh.
how did you handle advocates?
Well, most of the cases I worked in a community-based hospital that was in a mostly farm worker community, and it was more family members, I would say. I don't think I ever encountered a professional patient advocate in 12 years. In my experience, I think I did my own advocacy work for family and friends at other hospitals. on the side because I know how it is in a hospital. I know the errors that happen. I know, what things to be careful about and be aware of. But, for us, it's always a balance. And I will say, one, I want to acknowledge Eileen and the organization, the work she's done, because Eileen's really a pioneer in this. And the paradigm of allowing, family, having a more open visitor policy, allowing people to be in the hospital more is really been a slow transition, but it is something that has been pretty much embraced by the medical community, hospital, especially hospitals. You have the hypervigilance. So I think what Eileen's speaking to is the hypervigilant advocates, the family members, that are maybe crossing that line of what their role is and the privacy.
I'm married to one.
What does the patient want? Well, if you're married to a nurse, you're either going to have to be dying to go to the hospital, or you're.
I got to tell you, if it wasn't for her, and this is 4 years ago, I wouldn't be sitting here right now because I was in really, really, really bad shape. And she would 6 o'clock in the morning, she's on the phone with the doctor. Before they got off shift, she's on the phone with the doctor or the nurse.
Eileen, I think the first show that you did, it was just you and I.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because he was in the hospital.
Yeah,
he was charming, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he made me nervous.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad, right? And I think that nurses are natural, are by our licensure, our obligation under our license and our teaching, no matter what state you're in, we are defined as patient advocates. So it is our job to be patient advocates. And, my mantra to other nurses was like, look, you're going to have one license. You can have many jobs. I could lose my license if I fail to be a patient advocate. I still am an RN. I'm licensed in Virginia and California, as well as the board certification in patient advocacy. And so it is really important. And so when you bring being a nurse into the equation, a doctor or a healthcare agency, they know right off the bat, I'm not backing down. And they know that, I know what they're doing. I know, I have a little more knowledge. I'm also certified.
You scare the crap out of them.
but it doesn't take being a nurse. And that's the beautiful thing about what Pulse does, is that it's empowering people who are already doing that kind of work to have a bit of increased knowledge, to know, have some concrete information, to feel confident about being an advocate, because there certainly are not enough of us. Not everybody can afford a private advocate. And, the family system, it depends on culturally too. I worked with a primarily, Latino population. It's just built in, the whole family is going to be involved in that process. That's a given.
Yeah. And that's it. And that's, some of the things that a lot of people, the family gets involved, and because of lack of knowledge, sometimes it becomes a problem. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it becomes a problem.
Sure.
And, through what you guys do, and you know what, let's do this first. Reason why we're here tonight is not only to get everybody some information, but also we want people to reach out to you guys. We want people to donate to Pulse. Okay. This is Giving Tuesday, right?
Give Back Tuesday.
Give Back Tuesday to everybody. So you can go right to Pulse Center for PatientSafety.org, right, Irene?
Yeah.
Okay, Eileen, and they can donate right on your site. Okay, or you can reach out to Eileen or Karina at Pulse Center for PatientSafety.org. Okay, go to Facebook, her Facebook page. You can give any of those places. Now, the other thing, and what we're going to get into really deep after the commercial break, is how you can get trained as a patient advocate. Okay.
Your eyes lit up. You just got very excited.
Yes.
Oh,
because that's a big part of what Pulse is all about.
That is what Pulse is all about.
But we're not going to dive into that just yet. If you guys want to reach out to Adriana, if you're out in California and you need somebody to help you. Well, yeah. Well, you're in California or Virginia now?
I'm in Virginia, so I'm on the East Coast.
Pay attention.
So she moved, right? So
during the course of when we just started.
But if you need somebody in California, she'll go out there too.
Right, she will.
Go to Nurse Adrian.
I'm nationwide.
Yeah, there we go. .com. Right, her email address, her Facebook. visit these people. They're there to help.
Look, you folks out there, you have relatives, you have friends, you have parents that need some help. And no matter how smart you think you are, you're not when it comes to this. All right. And, I think I'm a fairly smart individual. Darren is definitely smart. He's off the charts smart. All right. But he doesn't have a clue on what's going on with being a patient advocacy. But these people
I do now because.
But you still don't know. You're not certified yet.
I'm not certified. But watching your wife up at Stony Brook, it was amazing. It was amazing. It really was amazing. The stuff that she was doing.
I hope she's watching.
I hope so too. She was fantastic. She was absolutely fantastic. But okay, so a big part of what you guys are doing is not only you're there to be the patient advocate, but you also have a training program.
And we're going to find out about that in just a few seconds.
In a few minutes, right? But we're going to talk about that afterwards. But your organization started 25 years ago. It was fairly regional for a long time. Mm-hmm. And correct me if I'm wrong, Eileen. And now you're national, even international at this point.
You want to tell your international story real fast? The one that Linda came back with and told us all at one of the network movies.
Oh, and she met somebody in another. Yeah, she was in Africa or something.
She was in Africa. Listen to this one. She's in Africa.
She mentioned patient advocacy to the nurses. A group of nurses were there, and they said, "Oh, they know a patient advocate in New York." And they had my name, and she came back and she said, I couldn't believe it. I spoke at their conference. So they've heard of us because I spoke at their conference.
That is sick. That is absolutely sick.
There's a few stories like that. I almost didn't know which one you meant, but yeah, there's a few stories like that, which is flattering. And it's also, it's flattering that people remember the story, but it's also so important that people might be learning if they're hearing the presentation and what we have to say. That means they're learning and it's staying with them. It's not that they didn't remember. They remember what we talk about because it matters.
And patient advocacy isn't just about being there when somebody goes into the hospital, because as our population is getting older and living longer, you have relatives now. And I have a brother that's handicapped, and he has people that come in on a daily basis that work with him and those type of things. So you got to know the right questions to ask. You got to make sure that the people are doing the right things for them on a constant basis. And that's some of the stuff that you guys get into and teach. And you don't, when we talk patient advocacy, like you said before, you don't have to hire a patient advocate to come in. A lot of patient advocates will donate their time too.
But you got to be trained.
Right. You got to be trained. You got to know the questions to ask. You got to know what you're allowed to ask, what you're not allowed to ask. Well, actually, ask to me, I'm going to ask every question in the world. Whether they answer it or not is another thing.
Well, you bring up a good point, Darren, because like my, I was in California and I found Eileen, I found Pulse. I mean, had it not been for the pandemic, they would not have been doing, so much online. And my business is all online, and people are much more comfortable now with the online format because I'm global. And, I used to think, well, this is only something that people in America need. Well, it doesn't really matter where you're at because all of us will be in that bed someday or have some health issue, or somebody we care about that has health issues, or multiple people in a family. Right. And we've just, gone through 2.5 years of that. And it just shows that healthcare is something, the access to it and asking the right questions, knowing how to advocate is so important. And that's why I'm so committed to being part of this organization and really bringing it to, elevating our status and visibility on this national and global level. Because
we're going to hold it. We're going to hold it right here because we're going to take a break.
We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to jump into all your courses, your certification,
and your questions that you had.
We'll put the number back up so people can call in and they can ask any question that they want. We'll be right back right after these messages.
See ya.
Lynn delivers a spot-on performance as Neil Diamond. It doesn't get any better. One hot night will not disappoint. It's exciting, it's energy, it's colorful, and it's one hot night.
Coming on the Business Power Hour gives you something that you don't normally get with your typical advertising on the internet.
Or in the newspaper.
Right?
None of that stuff.
You get thousands of viewers who see the show every week, not only locally, but nationally and internationally.
For a very nominal fee. Actually, we did it and we broke it down. It will actually cost you 0.75 cents per view that you get. That's it. All right, so if you're interested in being a guest on the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man, please give me a call at 631-698-9696 or email me at norman@friendentusa.com or call Darren at...
You can call me at 844-987-CBMS. That was 844-987-CBMS, or email me at Darren@bphdmm.com.
I think I'm going to get in touch with you also.
Yeah?
I am, to make sure that you get here on time.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Next time.
yeah.
All right?
It's the first time ever I've been late. Aquata, also known as the money tree, is a tree that flourishes in the tropical rainforest. Unlike other trees, it depends on 5 separate trunks to prosper, each one bringing its own share of water and nutrients to the leaves. Like the money tree, your business has many different trunks that need your attention. Sales, marketing, finance, operations, and culture. Fail to cultivate any one of these and the whole tree collapses. I understand this better than anyone else, which is why I developed My Prosperity Tree, a program designed to address all of these areas, not just one or two. We help you identify who you are as a company, define your direction, and assist with developing the systems that will enable you to scale your business the most efficient and effective way, allowing your company to bloom into your own prosperity tree. So plant your tree today by visiting myprosperitytree.com or call us at 844-987-CBMS. That's 844-987-2267.
I mean, I'm sure that Eileen, I found an advocate on here, but I'll show it to you later. Okay.
There's something very wrong with this man. There's something very, very wrong with this man.
I'm going to give a shout out to Sonny Masson. Sonny, thank you for tuning in tonight. One of the best photographers anybody is looking for on Long Island, Sonny Masson.
And my brother Jimmy's watching tonight. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
And Keith Ray, we mentioned.
Keith Ray. But, we don't see Mark Boleyn. You mentioned Mark, Eileen. Mark is a patient advocate.
And he's on every week.
And every week, right at the beginning of the show, he's like, hey, guys, so we don't see Mark. Hopefully, Mark, you're watching tonight and you just can't post. But, this
you better have a good excuse.
You better have a good excuse
you.
because this is the show he actually should be part of, right? So Mark is another great guy that's done that. So before the break, we were talking about all the great things that Pulse is doing, how you guys are doing it. And, one of the things that I want to get into and even ask you about is if you go to the Pulse website, you can actually be trained to be a patient advocate, not only for other people, but for your family and your friends and even yourself. So tell us a little bit, Eileen, about how you came up with that concept and getting people certified as patient advocates.
Well, we don't actually certify as patient advocates. There is board certification to become a patient advocate. It's fairly new. It's been around for about 5 or 6 years. And it's different than what we do. Our focus is on the family-centered patient advocacy. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing since 2006, the family-centered patient advocate, a 9-hour training. It's a lot on communication. It's a lot on what happens in the hospital and the healthcare system, and being a patient advocate for friends and family. So you do get a certificate for that. And that's our only fee for service that we have right now. The other things we have is we have 3 programs a month. The first Wednesday is our patient activation through community conversations. All this is on Zoom. It used to be in person. And it's a discussion group. People bring their experiences and we can talk about their experiences as a patient or an advocate. the PPS, People for Patient Safety, used to be at a diner on Long Island. We used to meet the second Monday of the month and over hamburgers talk about patient safety issues that were concerning to us. And that really came, that idea was in 2014 when I came back from a conference and had nobody to talk to. Because here I went to this great medical conference, spent all this time, but then I had nobody to share it with. So I found medical professionals, the pharmacists, doctors, nurses, and community members to join once a month and talk about patient safety. And then our final program that is our newest program is ACES, Advocate Collaborative Educational Series, which is a speaker. And then they after the speaker speaks, they have case studies, and it's continuing education for patient board certified patient advocates. So all these are free except a small fee if you need continuing education and a certificate. And then all our programs that have presenters go on our academy. And our academy, which is under pulseevents.org, I think it is. When you go onto the academy, right now there's over 30 videos that for a small fee, they can watch a video and get a certificate. If they're board certified, they can get their continuing education, or just as a family member or somebody who's curious about COVID information or about medication safety or about advanced directives, they might have a question about. So all communication is even treating a transgender patient. We've done work with the transgender community. We work with vulnerable populations like mothers living in shelters. We've worked with people with lupus, different groups of people, so they can get those videos on. They're all about an hour long.
And they can go to your website, right? Pulse Center for Patient Safety.org, and they can get all the information about all these courses. Not only that, Give Back Tuesday, you can donate money to Pulse. So we encourage you to do that. Go onto the site. This is a great organization. They do a lot of great things for a lot of great people.
Eileen, let me ask you a question about donations. Do you does it matter to you how much someone donates, or are you only looking for $5,000 and $10,000?
We would take $5 because, first of all, not only is it mean that we're getting a donation, it means somebody cares enough to give us $5. And it's so important. The idea that somebody would take the time out and don't make a donation to us is very meaningful. So, we're volunteers. We're a volunteer organization. We have a tremendous amount of volunteers. We have leadership teams that work on the programs. We Adrian is actually running one of our committees now that we have going. So we have these great group of volunteers across the country, and we have there's costs to keep up the website and keep up the keep things going. So we definitely need the support, and we just love the idea that somebody would give us, I shouldn't say we won't take the $10,000, but we are having a fundraiser January 22nd. It's on our website also, that we're doing a game night. So we want advocates and caregivers to come have some fun and offer talent and play games. We've been planning that. It's been a great group. And also we have our symposium every year for Patient Safety Awareness Week in March. We have a symposium, and last year was on Zoom. And this year will also be online for 2 days for 2 days of educational seminars, all on patient safety. And that's up there.
Question. Do you see some problems that are in healthcare today?
Well, I don't know if Adrian thinks differently, but I think the calls that we get seem to be that there's a certain amount of shortage of nursing staff. Even reception in the doctor's office seems to be an issue, that people are angry and very tense. But I've got 3 or 4 right in a row of people feeling like they weren't being listened to, they weren't being understood in the hospital or the healthcare facility, nursing homes, that they're not being listened to. And I believe it's a shortage of staff and the lack of visiting hours. There's cutbacks on visiting hours now. The doctor goes in at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, and families aren't allowed to go in until noon, or, for just a couple of hours, going back to COVID. And if we were able to get our hands on people to train them to be an extension of the nursing staff and the helping the families, we would be able to really, I think, reduce some of that stress.
Okay, so let me ask you, you brought up COVID, right? And you're talking about the limitations of, people getting into the hospital. And we know that when COVID was going on, forget it. There was no patient advocates in the hospital room.
There were no nurses in the hospital. It was so tough.
Right. It was like you weren't getting in there. How, how did you guys, from a support standpoint, be able to support all the people reaching out saying, hey, I don't know what's going on, because COVID was a scary thing. We didn't know what was going on. Once our loved ones went into the hospital, we had no idea. We knew nothing, right?
Yeah.
So, how do we get around that?
Well, Darren, you're right. So there came a time where all bets are off. Where we just want our family members and our loved ones to live through this COVID, and let's get on with it. Some studies say that the death toll was not from COVID, but from ventilators not being changed and infections from ventilators, because there weren't enough staff to take care of patients.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they were dying. I don't know if that's how true that is, but I've read some information on that. And I do question the fact that it may very well be true, but it's all related to the fact that there was problems with COVID in hospitals. So I think right now, one of the things that we're still doing is and there's a video on our website under movies and articles and videos. I think it's called Remote Advocacy. And what I have done, and I encourage people to do, is, if somebody's in the hospital, and you're on the phone with them, they might say, I got to go, the doctor's here, or I got to go, the nurse just came in. Instead, they should be saying, the nurse just came in, I'm putting you on speaker. And that's what we can all be doing for our families and friends. That is, if you're going to call a friend in the hospital, be ready to stay on for an hour or two. You can go on mute. You could shut off your camera. But if you've got, what is it, Messenger or Zoom or whatever it might be, mm-hmm. leave it on for them, and they can leave it on their tray table or on their phone on their bed, so you can be listening in. And I've listened in for people all night long, watched them being fed dinner or having dinner while the nurse was feeding someone who had COVID. So you can be a help through the phone system. And if you're a professional advocate, get a second or third phone, and you could be doing this for a number of clients at a time. So we should not be saying, I got to go, or, because the nurse is here. It should be, the nurse is here. Help me ask questions. Help me take notes. Right. What were some of the questions? And so, you never have to go.
Adrian, did you have the same experience during COVID?
Well, so in my role,
right.
I had an overview of 10,000 nurses in 4 counties in Southern California: Los Angeles, Riverside, San Bernardino, Ventura counties, some of the biggest hospitals in the area. And so it was pretty consistently similar. I would say that, what the public doesn't know still is what happened inside those hospitals. They don't know that the nurse was there alone. The housekeepers refused to come in. The respiratory, often was just overloaded. The phlebotomist didn't, not that they didn't want to come in. I don't want to make any healthcare team seem like they were refusing, but I was on the phone with nurses and hearing stories of doctors yelling down the hallway because they didn't even want to come on the unit, and saying, hey, tell me, how's that patient doing, right? And so the nurses are cleaning the room. They're doing the job of 5 people. They're, and I have an MBA. You guys are business people. When you have an organization or an industry that then gets used to, oh, we can operate at this level, we're going to keep operating at this level, mm-hmm. and move the money up, not move the money out. And that's what's happened now. And we're seeing a lot, where $2 million of COVID relief went up to CEO pay. It was, how did these, the metrics, and then when you go into a state of emergency. So, I'm from I was in California at that time. People, California's so regulated. Every safety measure, part of a state of emergency, was there were no longer tracking violence in hospitals. Nursing is, healthcare, nursing injuries right. are the number one industry of violent, events in the job. Mm-hmm. It is the most dangerous job there is, to be a nurse. Literally, you're more likely to have a violent, encounter in a hospital, for example. So there's a lot of things at play that have created where we are today. And I can tell you where we are today is not a good place. There is no hospital that is where it should be. There's no, people don't understand in a long-term care situation, one nurse, one LVN might have 72 patients, 96 patients, 50 patients. That one nurse, here's the other thing. People don't know to ask, because in California we have nurse to patient ratios. So I never had more than four patients, but they don't know to ask, well, how many patients are you actually taking care of? Oh, and the hospital's now gotten rid of the nurse aides, the techs, the secretaries,
because they could.
And this has been already happening. So we were already in a bad situation in healthcare prior to COVID, and we're not out of COVID, right? I'm in an
so
RSVP.
what differences would you like to see in hospitals?
Well, I think that one thing that, where being now a patient advocate and seeing, being in both sides of this, is that we have, as consumers, need to really pass some federal legislation to mandate ratios, nurse to patient ratios in every state nationally. It needs to be tied to CMS, to Medicare money. And there's a lot of things that are spent, Medicare money, which is our tax dollars, right, that go to things that have nothing to do with healthcare, right? My tax dollars should not go to a forgivable loan for a CEO of a hospital, right? For his house.
Agree.
Because you guys know I can make $3 million as a CEO or $7 million a year, but I can also be given a $7 million forgivable loan to buy my house. And I don't pay taxes on that, right?
Yeah.
That's your tax dollars. So there's a lot of things, parts of healthcare that the public doesn't understand. Again, I'm in a unique situation because I was a union organizer. I negotiated contracts. I saw financials of hospitals, for 20 something years. And then being in this regulatory role, I mean, I filed over 200 complaints. I got the largest fine from OSHA for the death of a nurse during COVID in California. And then several other, fines against hospitals. Now, that means that those hospitals were at fault. So for the death and injury of workers, which then, if you're not treating your workers well, then you're not treating any of your customers well either. And there's also been the move from, we no longer call patients, we call them clients. We stopped calling patients 10 years ago.
Well,
There's another problem.
That's part of this, politically correct culture that's come about, right? We can't call anybody anything we used to call them anymore.
Well, it's specifically in healthcare, it's the depersonalization, right? It's like we're gonna go to this client-centered care, right? But they say patient-centered care, but it's a model of business that depersonalizes what that person is. They are a patient.
Regardless of what business you're in, when you depersonalize it, then you're just a commodity at that point, right?
Well,
and there's no loyalties anywhere.
Right.
Let me interrupt for a second, because this hour is getting real gone real fast. All right, Eileen, you have something in your group called Take Charge 5 Steps.
Yes.
Let's tell everybody about Take Charge 5 Steps.
Take Charge 5 Steps for Safer Healthcare is a campaign that you guys helped us kick off about 3 years ago nationally. We did a Sunday.
I still have the shirt for that. I still have the shirt.
I'll get you a hat now too.
A hat would be nice.
What we found with Take Charge is that it was an opportunity to, with all the things about patient safety that get confusing, we wanted people to prepare to become patients. If they're going to go into the hospital, go to the healthcare system, be ready and take some of the burden off the healthcare workers by having your list of medications, by having your list of questions ready. So Take Charge 5 Steps is a campaign that kicks off in March during Patient Safety Awareness Week. And we go through the 5 steps. And then every month after that, April, then May, then June, July, August, into September, we do one of the 5 steps all month. So the first step is have your healthcare proxy form. have your advanced directives. And that means your healthcare proxy form, which is a form that will be given to you in your admission packet. That is not the time to start talking about the person that you want to talk for you if you can't speak for yourself. So preparing ahead of time. The second one is keep a record of your medications and medical history. The third one is have your list of questions ready and symptoms ready. For that, we use something called the STARS card. I'll show you the STARS card. STARS stands for how you bring your symptoms together and discuss your symptoms with your doctor. Number 4 is ask caregivers to wash their hands and help prevent infections. Nobody wants to do that, but we all have to start doing that because I can't even believe how they don't do it already. It's just a matter of respect. Wash your hands.
Mhm.
And then number 5 in the last month of August, is use an advocate, be an advocate for others. So those are the 5 steps. Very simple. We have a whole website that focuses on how to do his healthcare proxy. He whips that out every single time we
Every
say the
time,
word.
right? Yeah.
Every
He
time.
has.
Well, you
So
know
perfect.
that these forms are kind of large and you're not sticking them in your pocket. So what I did is I took everything that you said. I have all my medicines. I have everything on 2 cards, front and back. I went to Staples, got some plastic put around it. And every time the doctor asked me, or if I should happen to go to a hospital for whatever reason, I have all the information here. So you can't say that you don't do it.
that's
Right.
right. That's right.
Here-
It's so helpful.
Here's one thing I want to do really quick, Eileen, if I could. I want to show your website, okay, so people can see where all this great information is. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump onto, let's see,
We have
right
something
here. Yes, this is something new. All right, so can we see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the big one. This is the one I want everybody to go to tonight. Go to our donation page and make your donation. If it's $1, if it's $5, whatever you can afford to do, every little bit helps. Okay.
Oh, I tell you what, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this.
But here's the thing. We can go over to our programs over here, and here is Take Charge. And this is what we were just talking about. The Take Charge 5 steps to save for healthcare.
All right, let me interrupt you. Back to patient donations.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that donates $100 to Pulse Advocacy, I will give 4 tickets to one of my concerts.
Wow. That
Wow.
and your
All
concerts
right,
are
and as an example, I have a great show coming up in about 3 weeks. It's a Neil Diamond show. If you would like to see that, you make the donation. Eileen will tell me the money's been received.
You got
And-
Taylor Swift tickets?
I'm sorry?
You got Taylor Swift tickets?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm working on it. And I will be more than happy to have you come to one of our shows. But you got to make that donation. It's got to be $100.
Yeah.
wow.
And you're
Thank
still
you.
saving money. And you're still saving money on the tickets.
So go to Eileen's website.
awesome.
You got
What are you
everything
laughing
right
about?
there. Adrian's
That's
coming.
awesome.
She's going to drive up.
I've
from
seen it.
Virginia.
I've seen Neil Diamond. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'll drive up.
But how would
I'll
you like
take
to
the
see him up front and close and personal?
I'm a Neil Diamond
Except
lover.
it's not really the real Neil
a-
Diamond.
it's-
It's
it's
a tribute to
It's
Neil
a
Diamond.
tribute to Neil
That's
Diamond.
all right.
You know,
Thank
I
you.
tell you what, the acts that they have. Joseph Ponte joined us tonight too.
Hey, Joe.
Joe.
The
Joe's good.
acts that he has, Adrian, are just unbelievable. They really
Lot of
are.
That's
fun.
awesome.
You know,
Eileen's been there. Darren's been there.
Yeah. So
I do want to say, I think Stephanie Schultz wrote in their party time. She's she's our lead in the
that's right. Yeah,
fundraising
Stephanie. Yeah.
committee, and she's planning the January 22nd event for the game night talent. If you have a talent, we want you to offer a talent, and we'll be playing games that night. So thanks. Stephanie Schultz is a Wisconsin patient advocate, has her own business out there. She's amazing.
Yeah,
So
hi,
we're-
Stephanie.
It's a growing business. We're so excited that it is growing. People
Well,
are
you know, and it goes to not only the dedication, but just the you know, by your organization growing like this, Eileen, just shows what kind of person you are, because you got people all over the place. You're just a tremendous person. You know, we love you. And
you know, because
Yeah.
you're growing like that, you can thank the Business Power Hour anytime that you wish, continuously as you do,
right.
and we appreciate that.
Yeah, people should be watching every Tuesday. They will learn something every Tuesday.
And I don't get along with anybody, so the fact that Eileen tolerates me, we get along great. I mean, she inspires me. I got to say, this is a great organization. Anybody who's watching, please donate, get involved, support these guys here, and
You're going to be a major asset to
legit.
this group. I understand now what Eileen has been telling me about you, and no joke, straight up.
Thank you.
She's really, really happy that you've joined this organization, and I can see, Darren can see too, that you're going to be a major, major asset for this organ and for yourself.
So Adrian, let me ask you this question. You say you grew up in New York. What part of New York did you grow up?
I didn't grow up. So I am literally the only person in my family not born in New York. I was born in California.
Oh, really? Okay.
The only person.
So your family was in a witness protection program and they went to California.
I can't really talk about it.
So where did your family live in New York?
My great grandfather came from Italy to Brooklyn, and then they moved to Rochester. So my family's
From
up
Brooklyn to Rochester.
Rochester, not New York.
You had to get out of the city.
Really New York.
They go somewhere.
I was married to somebody from Brooklyn for a while, so yeah, I've been in New York quite a bit. I love the city, and I can't wait to get back up there.
And I hope everybody will sign up for our game night. It's on the website under pulseevents.org.
Yes.
Come to our game night. Have some fun with us. We're going to have a really good time.
And share this video, later, and get the information. Get people to the website. There is so much great information. I send the website to nurses I know all the time.
Well,
People, so much value.
Even touched on everything that you guys do, and we barely
goes every time. Whenever
every
you're on
time.
the show,
It's
we
like,
never can finish.
Because there's so many different things to talk about. Take charge. There's all kinds of different programs that you guys are doing.
Take charge. Don't take charge. Maybe take charge.
Well, he
doesn't be allowed to
he
come
only
back.
takes cash. He doesn't take charge. He only takes
I'll
cash.
take charge now.
When I come back again, I'll bring some more friends.
There we go. Well, Eileen, you're always welcome on the show.
I'm here every Tuesday.
Adriana, you can come too.
And
Thanks.
You can come too, Adrian. Anytime you guys want. But
Yo, Adriana!
So it's coming to the time in the end of the show.
Anything else you want to mention to
Anything
everyone
else?
listening?
So you
I
got your
hope
game
people
night.
will reach out. I thought people might call in and share their experiences, but I see people are signing on and sending notes, and that's exciting. I'm just excited to be here.
People are afraid to make a phone call. I don't know that we can't see you. It's just like a conversation that you would have with anybody who gives you a call.
And we used to get a lot. You know what? When she first started coming on, we used to get a lot of calls.
Well, maybe that's why we don't get them anymore.
I don't know what it is. Maybe because
maybe it's your fault.
Maybe because we didn't have the chat before.
Yeah,
And I only write in when I'm correcting you guys.
I know,
and you certainly do that.
We always know you're there because when we screw up, all of a sudden there's Eileen.
And we talk about it. We do mention that you're a pain in the butt sometimes when you do
But
that.
you know what? She keeps us in line.
She does.
Keeps us in line.
Like when we talk about brain or whatever,
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah, we had to take that out of our intro.
Yeah, we had to critique it.
You haven't yet. I keep seeing it.
That's right. Well, it's out of this new intro. It's out of there, so we don't talk about that anymore. So anyway, we want to thank you, ladies, for being on. It was a great time as always. We know, Eileen, we love you, and we love you too, Adriana.
Thank you.
All right, so you guys stick around. We're going to wrap up the show, and
you're going in the green room. Don't eat anything.
One more time. We'll go over. I don't care. One more time. Pulse Center for Patient Safety.org. Go there. Donate. If you want to reach out to Eileen, Karina at Pulse Center for Patient Safety.org. Go to her Facebook page. Go to Twitter, LinkedIn. And then Adrian. Same thing, nurseadrianrn.com. Her email is here. Facebook, TikTok. She's on TikTok. We got to get on TikTok.
She's got so many followers. If you watch her on TikTok, oh my God, it's so much fun. It is so much fun. Seriously, very seriously. I should have said that earlier. She's hysterical, and it's just wild. Over 25,000 followers.
I don't. You know what? I've never
that's pretty
looked
good.
at TikTok. I don't know anything.
Amazing, really fun.
I don't even do.
I'm small.
I don't even do the Facebook stuff anymore.
But
I
we
don't do
have
any of
someone
that
who
stuff
knows
anymore.
about TikTok and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Figure
Yes,
out.
we do. Yes, we do. So yeah.
And I just want to say, if anybody wants to go see a great show, check out Norman's website and check out if you need a bookkeeper or an accountant. Darren has been a lifesaver.
We got a new website. Everyone can go look on our new website.
Oh, Darren, I might be calling you. I might be calling you.
All right.
I
All right,
I want to
guys.
talk to you anyway.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're gonna wrap the show up. You guys stick around. We'll be back.
Yeah, get in the green room. Go.
Oh man, always a lot of fun. I love having Eileen on.
She's great.
You know, and you know what?
Adriana is
She
terrific.
always brings somebody good with her. You know, and it's always a lot of fun. The last few times,
It's
she's
like
been
every
on.
week I bring you along with me. So we always
That's
I
what it
always
is,
got
right?
somebody good.
You always
all
bring
the time.
somebody good with you. Yeah.
We are booked like crazy for the rest of the year, and we already have January booked.
Mhm.
So now, folks, if you have a business and you'd like to get some information out there to the country about what you're doing and expose yourself in a very positive way about your business
Why
and
do you
about who
even-
you are. I'm on a roll. Let me go. All right, give us a call, 631-698-9696, or you can reach Darren at
844-987-2267. That's 844-987-CBMS.
except Darren won't call you back because he's always
Oh,
busy,
I got-
and he'll call
well,
me and then tell me to call you. So
Heather will-
631-698-9696.
Or Heather will call you back.
And
we'll go
there
from
you
there,
go.
So, all right.
We'll see you next week. Stay safe. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay warm.
Stay warm. Yeah. Hey, guys, we got some crazy weather coming up here in the Northeast. So everybody stay safe. We'll see you next week, right?
Same
Next
place,
week,
same time.
Same place, same time. Tuesday night, 7 p.m. right here on the Business Pow Hour. Good night, everybody.
Good night.